Hello and welcome to another devlog for Archaeology Rush. This is the video for the 27th of August, and we're going to cover over the changes that have happened to Archaeology Rush in the last week since that absolute disaster of a playtest. So, first of all, I just want to tell people that they can get the latest build on itch.io. I'm still working on getting it actually on Steam and ready. But when it is, I will tell people how they can get that there and sign up for it. Just need to do some work getting the store page updated and ready to go. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is actually just show off some of the fixes for the demo. So if we jump into our game, the first thing to show off is actually just up in the top right here. Now, last week I made some changes to the size of this, but it got me thinking actually that I could probably use this just not for the join and interact text, but also kind of just tell the players how to interact with the game. Because in theory, let's say I join as another player here. I can never remember which controls they are. They have different keyboard controls for playing, like entering tombs and all of that. And so for some reason these are broken. I've gone through them multiple times, and I actually think this is a better solution. And so these are actually set on the items themselves. So if we just fly over to the UK here, in our prompt here, there is a interaction text and it says display the action button and then that's open letters, or in here, action button, enter or exit tomb, and start excavation. Just nice and simple, nice and easy one. So yeah, that is the main first thing. But actually, we've got some bigger changes. I will leave as this player and just go back to one player, and we can join the tomb. And the first thing you'll notice is that this shader is much improved. I've kind of pixelized it a little bit more. I mean, I say I pixelized it, I've lowered the resolution. And yeah, I think it looks a lot better. It kind of fades into the view a little bit better. And so, yeah, and you'll also notice that this front room is completely different. And that is because I felt like actually it made no sense to go. So previously, you go from this room, which was a little button, into what I call like a mid storeroom, but it's like the shop room. And I just felt like it was too slow a start. You just want to get straight into the action. This makes the most sense for us. So that's what we're doing. And in that, actually, I have disabled the shop and just added in the ability to kind of disable the shop, because I will be bringing it back, but I feel like for the first part of the demo, it kind of doesn't make sense. So I feel like we can do better. So you'll see that come back later, but at the moment that is disabled and gone. The shops kind of still gives you rewards, but it doesn't give you kind of any proper. It doesn't give you the ability to exchange your electrum. So the next thing is something actually that I've been wanting for ages. And the reason why I've loaded into this particular world was actually that I really didn't like something that was happening. So previously, if you were on a ladder, you could not jump. So we're on a ladder, the jump was completely disabled. And as you can see here, we're on a ladder and we're jumping. The reason why the jumping being kind of like disabled. Just skip that bit because a demon was being excised outside my window. So the reason why the jump was being disabled was actually down to us locking. So when we are on a ladder, we need to lock people to that ladder so they don't fall down. Because as you can see from the jump animation, it's kind of just treated like a big jump. So they're kind of classed as ladder locked. But the problem is the ladder locked also stopped players from being able to jump. So now when they jump, you become not ladder locked, and then you can jump off. And it makes the platforming with and around ladders so much more fun. Granted, like, don't hold the up button whilst you are sort of jumping, but I feel like that's on you. Because if you hold the up button, you're going to be ladder locked, because you're kind of treated as being on that ladder. So yeah, that is the kind of ladder changes that I'm actually really happy about. The next thing, we're going to have to jump out. Aha, so can we... Is there a button here that we can open this and I can show the shop stuff going? Let's see. Right, let's open this button. That opens that one down there. Does it open this one? Yes, it opened both of them. Great. Right, so this is what I mean. The shop, this was the old room. The shop now kind of is empty. But if you go in it, you'll notice that you still got treasure for going on it. I think you still get treasure. I'm pretty sure you still get treasure. I saw it work the other day. And then, right, let's jump out into the world. So I've also just made some minor improvements. This training tomb is now like pre-dug up, so when you come back out, you don't have to re-dig it out. And then the other thing was a little bit of a bigger problem that I actually would like to do a little bit of a deeper dive into. Well, we've got two problems here, and they both actually center around the save system. So if we jump into our code base and we can jump into the save system. Actually, first let's jump into the map. The map screen. So a world into how I interact with all of my code. So I basically just want to find out where this is being used, because then I can get to the character manager. This is what I want. So, okay. We have a little bit of code here. It is where the character manager fetches the save data and updates itself. Now, I'll walk through this code. So the first thing is we just check and see if the profile manager exists. It definitely should do at this point. So like, it's kind of a big problem if it doesn't, but we still want to make sure that we're not kind of causing other issues, like not registering the character manager if for whatever reason the profile manager doesn't actually exist. So we've got bigger problems if it doesn't exist, but we don't want to create more problems. So if we get it, we want to basically say, hey, we want to create a map chunk in this save file. If it exists, give it to us. If it doesn't, then make it, and we want it to exist. And I can show you with this save. In fact, we'll jump over to this one, what that looks like if it has saved. Yeah, so we have a map chunk here. So the save file is constructed of multiple different chunks, and the map chunk is like a kind of form of that chunk, which contains some data that we want for position. So in that, and this is where the crux of the problem was. We get the chunk itself and we check if it's loaded. If the chunk is loaded, that's great. We can try and get all of the positions for the chunk players, and we can update the active character. And the active character is basically what kind of version of the chapter you're on. So this will be like Henry Pepper at the moment. The problem I had was that there is some basic initialization that happens in this. Is an update character sets all of the characters' positions and data. I appreciate it's not the prettiest code, but yeah. So it kind of sets the player data and tells each map character, hey, you are this character, because that in theory can change, and that is all on the that all exists on the, let's just bring it up. So that all exists on the desk, my bad. So we have a character chapter configuration. That character, in this case, is in the Henry Pepper chapter, it has all of that data. And for example, in the Lily Petrie data, it has the names for the red archaeologists instead of red recruit, even though it's still using the same animation set. And then we also changed the main character to be Lily Petrie. So that's great. Now, the issue is that if the chunk wasn't loaded, and this can be valid in the case that the chunk has just been freshly created. Of course, there's no data that we want to load, which is fine. So we don't load the data and we set players in their default position. The problem is that if we imagine that this never existed, well, right, lovely. We're never actually setting the active character, which means that the active character is set by default to what it is in the world at this time, which is the wrong sprite. So that is why we were kind of getting the wrong sprite to begin with. But now should be that is fixed. So once you come out of the tutorial, you will be the right character. And so what I also want to do is just create a save. Now, if we jump into the save code, one of the things I did, and this is kind of like a scattergun approach. There is a better way of me doing this, but it works. It works. Is that once we've saved and we've finished saving our file, we then load that file back up again. And all that does is really kind of say, hey, this is a loaded, it kind of refreshes those loaded flags. So in our chunks, right, the load flag gets enabled. And then next time that we come into the character manager, so let's say we play a level and for whatever reason, we've just saved, but we've never loaded that data despite the fact that we put data back in. Well, that's fine now because actually that data is kind of reloaded once it's been saved. I could probably go through all the profile chunks on save and mark it as loaded, but I might change that because this is a bit of trying to use a sledgehammer to hammer in a nail, but yeah, it works for me at the moment. So that's the approach I'm taking for the moment. The other thing that I did this week was I managed to make some improvements to the save system. So if we exit out of this game and we will load back into the front end, you'll notice if we jump in, there are a couple of things I've done. you notice that the name of the save file is not default anymore. There's actually no default save in here. The default save does not exist anymore. And so essentially, we have a file that is named Mr. Pepper here, and that's it. The other thing I've done, although not kind of perfect, as you can see, it's messed up a little bit here. Oh, I see what's wrong here. That's fine. The playtime last action they didn't do, but the playtime and last played now exist as like data that's stored on the file. So if we jump over to the file, you can see that I've added in the stats chunk, and essentially now, last time it was open, last time the game was saved is sort of logged on here, and then also the total time played on this save is also on here. What that means is that when we boot up the game, we, instead of, if we have no saves, we kind of create a default save, and that default save will be Mr. Pepper. But if we go and if we have a default save and it's not Mr. Pepper or it's anything, it will load up the last played save, which kind of means that you cannot have to, if you're playing on a different save that's not the default save, you don't have to jump over to that save every time you boot up, which is, nice to have. And then the other thing, this save name, Mr. Pepper, is kind of not the greatest name for a file name. And it's fine, it won't cause any issues. But actually, I didn't feel comfortable just letting somebody type in any old character, and it be a save. That didn't. Well, not all characters are kind of available to be saves. So if we jump over to the profile, so that's fine. We can do that. If we jump over to that's really interesting. So that's maybe that's broken out of the color tag. That's fascinating. But if we jump over to the profile saves, they're all hex values now. So essentially, if we jump over to the save code, if we make a save, so if we create a save, apologies, let's jump over to that bit of code, create new profile. That's fine. We take in the profile name, and that is the string of characters that we wanted to create. And we just create an active profile with that name. That's fine. And then we register like little stats chunk. What we then do when we save is we get the profile name hash. So we take the name that we have, we encode it in UTF-8, and we hash that data using the MD5 hashing algorithm. That gives us an array of bytes, and then we convert those bytes to a hexadecimal string. And so that is what the names of these save files are. And the glorious thing about that is you can name your save file pretty much anything you want. And that means that your save file won't be unsavable, you won't corrupt it. So that is the focus at the moment, is to kind of just make that save system. Well, that was the focus for this week, is just to make that save system just a little bit better. I might still have to, clearly, I might still have to ban some some tags here to not interrupt with the rich text field. And let's delete this ungodly file. But yes, that is the kind of change that I've made in the last kind of week on the save system. So on that note, I'm going to call the video here, the update video. Again, you can play this on itch.io. So jump on, play it, tell me what you think. It's always great hearing kind of feedback, and it does kind of help tailor this to where, like, tailor this game further. So yeah, that's I would appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you next week with another update video, and hopefully, the fingers crossed, we've got more Lily Petrie stuff, chapter stuff in next week's work. I felt after the disaster of a playtest, I should probably work on actually fixing up some of the issues that we found that kind of caused problems, and there are still many more to fix. But it is getting there. Is the main important thing. On that note, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful week. Goodbye.